Okay, welcome everyone to this continuation of what is algebraic geometry. Today I would like to first of all start again talking about tangents, because tangents are important. And this leads to the definition of a smooth variety. Essentially, whenever the tangents are nice or exist or something like that, it should be smooth. And it turns out it's kind of this philosophy that not smooth should be actually rare. There are the interesting things, the singularities in life, and we'll see that as we go along. But for now, let me just recall what smooth manifolds are. And I kind of really like this picture. So topological manifolds are just topological. There's a sphere and you can deform it as much as you want. Just think of it as being built out of clay. Kind of combinatorial manifolds, sometimes people call this piecewise linear, is like they have corners and they're made out of faces and you can stick them nicely together. The Platonic solids, for example. So here, everyone's favorite Platonic solid. And kind of in the middle, at least on this picture, the no corner picture, is the idea of having something smooth, where the sphere really looks like a sphere and the torus really looks like a torus. Yeah. So topological is kind of a little bit too weird. So you're allowed to do very, very strange deformations. Combinatorially, topological is here at the top. Combinatorially, everything is a bit too rigid. You end up a little bit with too much classical geometry, whether you like that or not. If you do it combinatorially, you very often end up with more like classical pictures. And the smooth one is somewhat in between. Some are well behaved, but still quite general. And yeah, just a reminder, a smooth function is really just a differentiable function in the sense of if we work over the complex numbers, and we are kind of we will mimic that. Yeah. So with the real numbers, that's a bit trickier, but over the complex numbers, you can just think of as soon as you can define a tangent in some reasonable way, you're good. And yeah, differentiable really means there's a tangent that you can define in each point, which you should think of is that there are no corners. Okay, so smooth, very important part of mathematics. So you might wonder how on earth, the ansatz here, how on earth can we define a smooth structure on a variety? So define something like a smooth variety. What should that be? Well, mimic the notion of a tangent. And in a previous video, we already had a tangent cone. The tangent cone has the advantage of essentially working in general, and has the disadvantage of not being actually a tangent. It's a cone, not a linear space. So let's have a look at the examples again. So the top example is certainly something where you have no corner, and I'm only focusing in this video on the origin, and I'm only interested about tangents on the origin. And yeah, clearly it has no corner, clearly it's smooth, and the tangent cone is just a green line, and the tangent cone in this example is just a tangent. So that's good. So kind of smooth seems to be the case where tangent cone equals tangent. And it seems to be an if and only if. So this one is good. Because if you look at the other two examples that we had, I will zoom into the equations in a second, the tangent cone was either not really a tangent in the sense that it's not really touching, like in this case here, or it's not even a linear space, like in the others. And these are examples of one of them looks like this, right? So this one here. These are clearly examples where you have corners, where you need to be a little bit careful what a corner is, because the double point actually counts as a corner as well. Okay, but maybe what we should say is a tangent is a linear tangent cone, right? That's the point. The linear tangent cone, if the tangent cone is kind of the linear thing we want, maybe that's what we like to call smooth. So the two equations we need to study in more details are those guys here. Hopefully that makes some sense. So tangent is this linear approximation. And what should this be in this type of picture? Well, we have those two equations here. Yeah, y squared minus x cubed and whatever it is. And the tangent should be the linear approximation, so it should take the linear term. Problem is there is no linear term. So the linear term is actually 0. And the only reasonable definition of a tangent here, it kind of loses the idea of touching, but it keeps the idea of being a linear approximation, is to say, okay, the linear term is 0, it's not there, so v of 0 is all of space, so actually it's like, that's why I have now a background color, that's the tangent space in this picture. No, that's nothing we can do. The tangent space in this picture needs to be all of space because there is no linear term. And yeah, so in this case, the tangent is bigger than the tangent cone. So you just define essentially the smooth case where the tangent is equal to the tangent cone. Yeah, so the tangent cone is, or the green one, is contained in the tangent, the pink one in the background. And yeah, whenever they're the same, like in my little picture up here, so this one was a good one, whenever they're the same, it's smooth. And that's like the definition. So the tangent, again, we only focus on the origin. If you have different, you just shift it. Anyway, the tangent is defined as follows. So instead of taking the initial term, like for the tangent cone, you take the linear term, and whatever variety is spent by the linear term is the tangent variety. Yeah? So take the linear term, and it is the tangent variety. So in this case, here there was no linear term, there was nothing we could take. It's a little bit boring. This is the case, I haven't written down the equation, but we can do it, where y squared minus x equals 0. So the linear term is x equals 0, which is perfectly the green line, right? X equals 0 is the green line. And this is like the tangent. And you say something is smooth if the tangent cone, ooh, this was really bad. Let me give me another try. If the tangent cone equals the tangent. Again, by the definition, it's kind of clear that the cone is always inside of the tangent, because it's potentially higher order, and we call it smooth if they're really the same. And I will explain in the next video why this actually really corresponds to the usual definition of a tangent. Because you can kind of have some Jacobi type equations, you can look at some derivatives, and kind of a vanishing or non-vanishing of the derivative will tell you about whether the tangent is a tangent cone or not, which is exactly how you would define a tangent anyway. But keep in mind that the difference between a tangent and a tangent cone is the tangent cone takes the smallest available, the initial term, the smallest available degree, sets it to 0, the variety you get is a tangent cone. The tangent takes a linear term and sets it to 0, and yeah, whatever you get is called the tangent. Just the problem here is that the linear term might not exist, and then it's all of space, so it might get quite large, for example. And what you can do is kind of the following. It's kind of a really beautiful theorem, which I'm not going to show you, but essentially I try to make this, at the very beginning of blow-ups, I try to make this analogy that singularities are point-like events where everything changes. Yeah, so here's a singularity is this one point here, the singularity is this one point here, the singularity is this one event here. And what I didn't quite explain is why they are really point-like events in the algebraic geometry setting, because a priori they could just cluster all, and everything could be a singularity, right? A priori, well, why not? But you can actually show that the smooth points, so the points where the tangent is a tangent cone, where it's smooth, so where it's not a singularity, the set of smooth points is open. And open sets in our Zariski topology are just ridiculously large. For example, for irreducible varieties, they're always dense. Yeah? So they're essentially, if you turn the logic around, if the set of smooth points is open, then the set of singular points is really small, and they're really more like point type events. As all of these, I guess, are point type events. And then, of course, they are very interesting. We spent a whole few videos just talking about singularities. And yeah, clearly this is a very interesting part of life. Whether it's good or bad, well, who knows? But it's clearly point-like and will change everything. And this is like how singularities then work in general. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I also hope to see you next time.